Hey, everybody. Welcome to the third and final part of our conversation with Tom Gross, looking back at 2024. On this episode, we are going to share our favorite TV shows, favorite movies, and some personal highlights from last year. I really hope that you have enjoyed this conversation with Tom, and again, want to thank Tom for joining us for this conversation. Lucia, vámonos.
Punch it to me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Colby Cast, where we dive into movies,
21 gigawatts!
TV,
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
and everything in between.
Well, I don't know how you get a podcast, but you should look into it.
I'm Colby, and I'm joined by my two awesome sons, Caleb
I don't know how to tie my shoes.
and Luke.
I never shut up.
Together, we're your friendly neighborhood pop culture nerds, here to share our thoughts on Star Wars, Marvel, the latest entertainment news, and maybe even some sports.
You believe in miracles? Yes!
So grab a piece of cake
Cake! Everybody loves cakes.
and find a comfy spot on the couch, because this is your place for community and conversation about pop culture and storytelling.
What an incredible smell you've discovered.
So let's move into the pop culture part of pop culture and storytelling, or should I say maybe the storytelling of the pop culture and storytelling. What about our favorite TV show? Mr. Gross, you are so good at logging the things that you watch and read and listen to. I know that your list was easy to reference to go back and see what was my favorite thing as far as TV shows go. So hit us with it. What did you like?
Yeah. So I did. Gosh, I did watch a lot this year, didn't I? But my number one was really easy to come up with. But I just have a couple honorable mentions, and they're all from right here at the end of the year. On Netflix, I've not watched the entire season yet, but season 4 of The Dragon Prince had come out, and I really enjoy that story. It's been going on for quite a while. Been waiting for season 4 for a couple of years now. So that came out, and really enjoying that. The other is on Prime, a series called Secret Level, where they are all animated shorts from video games, or not even video games. I don't think entire, but most of them are video games. But the one that the reason this was even on my radar is because episode 1 of Secret Level is a 15-minute or so Dungeons and Dragons story. That the animation and the story, I mean, the fact that they can get a full emotionally bound and action adventure story into that little bit of time in a Dungeons and Dragons story is just phenomenal. But I haven't watched the entire season, but all the episodes I have seen of, I think I've seen the first 5. They're all great, and I don't know most of the games that they're portraying, but they're just wonderful. And the fact that they're 15 minutes long or so it makes it all the more digestible. But many of them, I'm like, no, what's next? Tell me the rest of the story, or tell me the other half of the story. So that's been a treat. Skeleton Crew is also my honorable mentions, which I think if it would have gotten the entire season in 2024, who would have been really, really hard to top, because Skeleton Crew to me is top-notch Star Wars storytelling and just a breath of fresh air from that galaxy. But for me, my number one 2024 TV show is X-Men 97. When that came out, it just completely blew my socks off. I was really expecting more of the same from the 1990s series, and which I loved, in which actually I had been watching and trying to get caught up on through up to when the 97 came out. Didn't finish it, but so when 97 did come out, that first episode, holy smokes, I sat there with my mouth agape, going, "What did I just witness?" because this is not the X-Men cartoon that I remember,
Yeah.
but it was. That's what was crazy about it. And it's just so well produced. The story's so important for our time. Even, I mean, it's incredible for today's world. The X-Men are so relevant. And when we thought even in the 80s they were so
Yeah,
relevant.
absolutely.
But here, 40 years later, we're still there, man. And so every level of X-Men 97, there's not a minute of that entire season that I stretched, yawned, thought, can we get on with it? The entire season I was on the edge of my seat, just enjoying every bit of it. And so that's my number one
You,
for 2024.
you know what I'm hearing right now, Tom? I'm hearing validation because I told Caleb and Luke to watch X-Men 97, that it's phenomenal. I came late to the party. I did not watch the X-Men animated series from back in the day. I didn't know, but you don't need to. You really don't need to. I watched this
No.
and I was like, this show is phenomenal. Watch it and watch this. Hey guys, did you watch X-Men 97?
Well, this is the first time I'm
No.
ever hearing
Yeah.
of this show. There's no evidence otherwise either. No.
Liar.
Tom, I appreciate your introduction to this brand new show I've ever heard of.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome.
I'll be sure to give it a watch.
Yeah, after you watch Shrinking, right? Which you've said you're going to watch as well. Anyway, don't get me started. X-Men 97, I can't
It's
agree
like-
with you more.
it's like
That
family.
it's phenomenal show. Also have seen, what's the name of the one, the Amazon, the video game one that you said the title?
Secret Level.
Yeah, I've seen that, and that looks very intriguing to me. So I'm glad to hear that you like it because I've been on the fence. Should I watch this or not? I think I might give it a try. So, Luke,
Definitely worth it.
Well, I think everyone who knows me knows how much I love The Acolyte, so I don't think it should be a surprise. No, I did not like The Acolyte at all.
why do you always
I
have to?
honestly-
You just always has to get. That's high
But what's
level
the other
hating.
the
right
other
there.
Marvel show that
High-
you really like?
No,
The one with the hair? Yeah, there you go.
Oh, She-Hulk.
okay, here we go. That was not even last year's 2023. So
No,
we're
but I
talking
could
about
bring
the
up
shows
Agatha
that
all
we
along.
like. The shows that we liked.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't find a ton of shows that I liked. When I was looking through, I didn't find a lot. There was a show that came out late 2023 and I watched early 2024 called Scavenger's Reign. It's on Max. It's very good. It's an animated show and it's about a space crew that gets stranded on some deserted planet that's and they're like fighting through the terrain to try to survive and get back to their ship and whatnot. And it's really good. I highly recommend it. Scavenger's Reign. But the two shows that really stuck with me were The Penguin. I liked The Penguin a lot, but my favorite was Shogun. I thought Shogun was incredible. It wasn't just like a good show, and I picked it because it felt like a weak era of shows for me. But I think that show is just, it scratches every itch for me. It's got all sorts of action. The dialogue is incredible, even though a lot of it is in Japanese and you have to read the subtitles. It's so worth it. It's a big time commitment, but the story is incredible. So I'll go with Shogun as my favorite.
Good call. That got a lot of conversation going, and I would like to watch it too. So that's definitely on my list. I just didn't get to it yet. Caleb,
I'm going to give Apple TV their flowers because two of their shows are on my list for the year, and it's because I've watched them both this year, even though the first season of one of the shows I mentioned came out earlier. They're just top notch quality, top to bottom. Not necessarily just one thing, just top to bottom, incredible. One of them you'll talk about, I'm sure, Dad, Shrinking, amazing show. I finished season 2, which came out this year, and it is amazing. And they have one theme that you sort of just catch on each season, and it's not in your face, but you catch on to it if you start to pay attention. And it is just amazing. It's Shrinking because it's literally like therapizing people. The other one, which I don't know if it has a big following or not, but I just know that SZA, who's a singer, has tweeted at or X'd at, however you would verbiage that, at Ben Stiller, who's one of the writers of the show, It's called Severance. It is amazing. It is such a unique and different like topic, and it's literally about like clocking in and clocking out of work. That's and it sounds so mundane and whatever, but it's such a fascinating concept that they
Huh.
do in the show. So cannot recommend that enough. Another one to me, and I don't remember if it came out. This has been a very long year, which is funny because they're all the same length, give or take a couple days. But the Bear had us, I believe their latest season came out this year. If you want to be a ball of stress, watch it because it is the best. Like it sounds terrible when I say it like that, but you're pretty much like in the kitchen with these chefs who are trying to pick up this restaurant and it's amazing. And then I think that will be like my favorite show of the year. But I also have to mention Fallout because that was really awesome.
I completely forgot about Fallout. Yes. Tom, did you watch Fallout?
I did not.
It was surprisingly good. I was not into this whatsoever. Caleb started watching it. He started harassing me, telling me to watch it. So I started to watch it
Yeah.
almost begrudgingly to begin with because the guy with no nose made me like it just turned me off. Like I don't want to watch this character with no nose for however many episodes. But that show
I
was
was
excellent.
I was sick
Very,
as a
very well
dog.
done.
Every like lung virus you could have had except COVID, I had at that point, and I watched the entirety of the show in like 2 days, because I had nothing else to do, and best like 2 days, and they're like 1 hour episodes. I just binged through the entire thing. It was that good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's on Amazon, and the production quality, the storytelling, the performances, all of it, just top notch. Very good stuff. Watch them roll their eyes when I mentioned my first honorable mention, but I loved The Last Airbender, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live action. Uh, I don't even think Caleb has
Another
watched it
show I'm
yet,
hearing about
but
for the first time ever.
Luke watched it. Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Good. It's good. They're getting a season 2 and 3. Don't forget about Percy Jackson. Percy Jackson was terrific. Earlier. I think that it was like sort of like the Skeleton Crew this year, where it
Yeah.
may have started in 2023, but like made its way into 2024. So I'm putting Percy on there because that was terrific. This is a really good show,
Was good.
and I'm
That
right
was
there
good.
with you too, Tom. Skeleton Crew is top notch. I'm absolutely loving this show. I can't wait from week to week what we're gonna get. It just keeps. I mean, it started out sort of like consistently good, but this last episode, episode 5, I think just jumped up even higher,
Mhm.
and it's just now getting better as we go, and I am loving that. So, yeah, I'm also there with you, Luke. Also, I put the Penguin. That was going to be my number one. Not for everybody. Not an easy show to watch, but it is masterful storytelling. Masterful. I don't. I mean, it's
There's
just hard. It's a villain. It's literally a show about a villain. Typically not my cup of tea, but just the quality of every ounce, every moment, every shot to me was just next level.
there's so many Batman villain stories that are just so good. I mean, the Joker is an amazing villain, and a story I've never watched. I've never watched the Joker movies. I've no interest. It's and I'm kind of the same way with the Penguin. However, your first show on that kind of intrigued me a little bit to maybe want to watch it. But then I don't, yeah, after hearing what you just said, not for everybody. It's probably not for me.
Yeah.
Um, but Colby, maybe you left this one off on purpose, but I just was looking at my list again when you mentioned Percy Jackson, and right above that on my list of what I watched in 2024, I cannot believe I left this off the list. Season 3 of The Bad Batch.
I know. I was looking back
What?
over the year too, and the Bad Batch. Yeah, I mean,
Not as good as to me, not as good as the X-Men. So X-Men is still my top show,
sure.
but I have to put Bad Batch on that list of honorable
Tom, I
mentions.
think that's a sort of a commentary on the fact that there was a lot of really good TV out there
Yeah.
because the Bad Batch season 3, it wasn't because it's not. We didn't mention it a lot because it was not good, right? I mean that was a heck of a
Mhm.
season,
No,
but boy, was there
great.
some good TV. I think there was better TV out this past year than there were movies, and we're going to get to movies here in a second. But I think just this, based on the shows that we've just rattled off here in the last few minutes, goes to show you it was a heck of a year in TV. So I mean, good for them, I guess.
Another show that I put on there. I wouldn't put on my. It wasn't one of the best I saw this year, but it was surprisingly good. My wife and I, we never binge shows, but we binged Agatha all along.
Yeah.
We thought it was great.
The boys haven't watched that either,
it
but
was-
I thought it was better than I expected it to be. It was
Yeah.
pretty good show.
We found ourselves wanting to let's just keep watching. Let's just keep
Yeah.
watching. So before you knew it, we were all the way through. We couldn't believe it.
Luke, did you have something to say about the Bad Batch? Because I noticed you became quite engaged when that was brought up.
Yeah, I was very disappointed in myself for forgetting the Bad Batch.
I miss them. I love, especially that ending. It wasn't a post credit scene, but it was like that sort of that stinger at the end with Omega.
Yeah,
just amazing.
so good.
Well, we brought up movies. We're getting close. This is the episode. This is just the gift that keeps on giving. So people are gonna either ring in the new year or ring out the old year, just with a banger of a Colby Cast episode. Because I'm hoping everybody enjoys our conversation as much as we're having it, because this is fantastic. Yeah. 2 more categories to go. Last one is favorite movie. For me, it seemed like the movies had sort of a weird year because some movies came out that people expected to be big and they were not. And then, of course, we had the Deadpool and Wolverine phenomenon, Inside Out 2, Dune 2. There were movies out there that were Wicked, just really late in the year. I understand that Mufasa's not doing bad after sort of being slow. It seems like it's going to be doing pretty good. So sort of a weird year in movies from my perspective. But the ones that I just rattled off, I will also include If, the Imaginary Friends movie with John Krasinski. Absolutely loved that. That did not do well in the theaters. It went to streaming very quickly, which thankfully it did because I watched it. But those movies were sort of the highlights for me. I'm just going to, since I'm talking about it, I'm just going to give you my favorite one was Deadpool and Wolverine, just because for me, it was sort of like the payoff of 20 years of Fox X-Men movies, not necessarily being ushered into the MCU, which was not the point of that movie, sort of paying homage to these past characters in a very fun way. Again, a movie not necessarily for everybody because it is very vulgar, very raunchy, but I remember following Deadpool from before it was being made and sort of seeing how this character has come about. And now he's like, quote unquote, Marvel Jesus, right? And sort of in a way, he sort of is like, Deadpool and Wolverine came along and created more interest in Marvel than we've seen in quite a few years. So that movie was just a phenomenon. I laughed so many times. I literally begged Caleb to see it. We didn't. The first time we went to go see it, he was it when you were in. It was when you were in Paris, right? Yeah, because it came out when you were in Paris. So then when he came back from Paris, I'm like, right. When are we going to go see Deadpool and Wolverine? and I was so happy I got to go back to the theater and see it twice. I don't see a lot of movies twice in theater. So there's my thing about Deadpool and Wolverine. Tom, we'll kick it over to you. Get your thoughts on the movie category, but that's my review there for my 2024.
I saw one movie in the theaters the entire year. I was wildly unimpressed with the movie offerings this year. And the one movie I saw in the theaters is the one you just mentioned, Deadpool and Wolverine. It was the only movie. I take that back. I probably would have seen Wicked last week with my family if I wasn't feeling awful. So I probably would have seen that. But Deadpool and Wolverine was the only movie that when I was trying to make a decision, what am I anymore? I don't go to the movies unless I know it's going to be great. Like, it has to be a no-brainer to me to go to a movie and put up with other people. So, okay, that sounded really bad.
Yep. No, you fit right in with 2 of the 3 of us on this podcast. Okay. You fit right in.
So it was delightful in sort of only the way a Deadpool movie can be delightful, to the point where in the midst of heavy laughter, thinking in the back of my mind of this really is not. I shouldn't be laughing at this. Like when they're doing the shoot up in the street with all the other
Yeah.
Deadpools, or when they're fighting in the van or the Honda and they're just stabbing and shooting. Like you're laughing in hilarity, thinking I shouldn't be laughing at this like I am. This is wrong, but you just can't help it because it's so the context of it is so outrageous. But you're right. The unexpected of that movie was the homage to all of the Fox X-Men movies, and it was just that was such an unexpected sort of payoff of that movie that when I walked away with my friends, it was just we that's what we talked about more than really anything else in the movie,
Yeah.
especially the credits. I mean, the credits.
It was great. It was great, and I get exactly what you're talking about with like, why am I laughing at this? But it gets to the point where it's almost cartoonish in the
Yeah.
violence and the gore. It's almost cartoonish. So at least that's what I told my brain. Luke,
Yeah, I would agree with you. It wasn't a great year for movies. I watched Madam Web in theaters, so that should tell you a lot.
I'm sorry.
No, it was fun, not because it was a good movie, but because I went with friends and we made it a good time.
Okay,
Deadpool and
good.
Wolverine would be my honorable mention, but I got to go with Dune. I loved Dune too. Um, I didn't know anything about the story, so when I watched the first one, I was blown away. I thought it was incredible, and it got me really excited for the second one. So I made sure to see it. I saw Dune 2 3 times in theaters, and I love it. I love it. It was such a good movie. I went with my friends, and they tried asking me some questions and talking to me during it, and I just kept telling them, "Shut up, shut up. I'm watching this. Go away. Leave me alone. I'm watching this." And I think that was one of the rare occasions where I thought, I'm really glad I watched this in theaters.
that movie did something to you that I have never seen any movie do to you before. You went by yourself and watched that film. And there's nothing wrong with going to the movies by yourself. I have no issue whatsoever. But you don't do that. Tom, he barely
Admittedly.
goes to I have to take these kids kicking and screaming to movie theaters to watch movies with me just because they watch them on their phones. And he went to see that movie 3 times and once by himself. So yeah, that was a heck. You were
Nice.
on fire for like 6 weeks about Dune, 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 Dune.
Yeah, the third time was with me. I hadn't seen it, and it was gonna leave theaters soon. Luke was like, "Let's go." So we just, on a whim, just went, found a theater that was timing with like our schedules, and it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and gives me more reason to talk about it too. Luke, were you done with your list? Okay, cool. I'm
I
gonna
am.
say that is an honorable mention. I'm going to also talk. I don't remember. I wish I. My memory is so amazing. But I think I watched Fantastic Mr. Fox this year because I feel like we talked about it a lot through our episodes. So I'm gonna say that was one of. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go with that one as like my favorite movie that didn't come out this year, but I enjoyed this year. Um, and again, because I said my memory was great, I jinxed myself and forgot my favorite. There we go. Movie theater. You reminded me because it's the 10-year anniversary. Interstellar. We watched in theaters. I'm gonna say that's my favorite movie of the year because we watched it this year, and being able to watch it in
Hmm.
person for the first time ever because I was 15 or 14, didn't go when it initially came out. Um, it was just incredible, top tier, one of the best movies of all time, and I cannot talk about it enough.
Tom, have you seen Interstellar?
I have not.
Yeah, it's a good watch.
Mm,
It's a good watch. It's available, I think, on Paramount Plus. It's out there for streaming. I had not seen it either, but when Caleb and I were able to find some time to go see it in a re-release for the 10-year anniversary, I was blown away. I mean, the score, the writing, the story, the performances, all of it's almost 3 hours. It's a very much a thinking movie. But not to the point where you do have to suspend a little bit of disbelief because it gets into wormholes and timey
okay.
wimey stuff. But it's definitely it's an excellent film. So 3 hours well spent if you choose to. Um, well, now we come to my favorite category just happens to be the last category, and it's because I just love all you guys. You guys are the best, and I want to hear what was good about this last year for you on a personal level. So a personal highlight to finish off this mega episode of the Colby Cast, which I'm not saying in any negative or bad way. I'm loving it 100%. So Tom, what was a great thing that you would like to share with everybody that happened this past year for you?
So Corey Club would always be upset with me in these sorts of situations because I don't have one. I decided I'd give one for each one of my family members. Okay, because how do I say one? So the first one is my youngest daughter Kelsey and I we drove to Kentucky together for a family reunion because my wife and my older daughter were not able to go, and so we went down there. But that's not the memory. The memory was the moment was on the way home. I said, "Hey, let's do a detour up through Louisville." And because we're in Illinois, so we're kind of going out of the way there. But I said, let's do a detour through Louisville and let's go see where they make baseball bats. And so we went to the Louisville Slugger
Oh,
factory
that's
in
fantastic.
Louisville on a Sunday morning, and
That
it
is
was the
awesome.
most marvelous time with my youngest daughter. It was just so much fun to see how baseball bats are made and to get the history of it and just to kind of hang out with my youngest daughter. It was a ton of fun. We got lots of good pictures. I got to hold a baseball bat. So they have a room of like hundreds of like the model bat of certain famous baseball players. And one of my all-time favorite baseball players is Dave Winfield, and his bat is in there, his model bat. And so I was not allowed to hold it, but I convinced the dossier with the guy in charge with his white gloves on. He pulled it out. He looked at the catalog. We looked at the catalog, and I said, "Here it is. It's this one." He walked over to this huge wall of just like little cubbies, and he slid this bat out, and he brought it over to me, and it has Dave Winfield's signature on it because this is the bat this bat is the one that they use to make all the other models.
Unbelievable.
And so it is the like raw bat of Dave Winfield's. And this guy didn't know who else is using. He said the only reason it would be in here is if someone else is using that model,
Oh,
but he didn't know what baseball player or baseball players were using Dave Winfield's. But I also got to hold the bat that Ian Happ uses.
awesome.
And I'm trying to remember who the Detroit Tiger was. Uh, Perez. I can't think of his first name right now off the top of my head, but I get to hold the bat of Perez
That's
from the
amazing.
Detroit Tigers. So,
That's amazing.
and and they had the Savannah Bananas bat there as well. So I got a picture of my daughter with the
That's so
Savannah
awesome.
Bananas, their model bat as well. So that was fun. And then this is really a memory or like a moment for my entire family, but it involves my oldest daughter, Kaylee. She's in marching band. She's the color guard, and it's her senior year. And they went to a competition in kind of northwestern Illinois that had some top bands from the state, but also had a couple of top bands from Iowa. And we went to just see how we fare up against them. And we're sitting in the stands around all of these parents from these Iowa schools, and they're so confident in their band and everything, and they should be. It's their kids. They love them, and they were very talented. But when it came time for awards, our high school was named over and over and over. And the most satisfying thing, besides me getting a little obnoxious and cheering, the most satisfying thing was how quiet it became around us as our school's name kept getting called over and over again. And they were grand champions at that competition over some really, really talented schools.
Fantastic.
So that was a ton of fun. And then my last one is it was the 2024 was my 20th anniversary of my wife and I. And so she and I did a trip. We don't do a whole bunch of traveling because of our schedules and and those sorts of things. But she and I took a trip to a town, can't believe we've never been to before, but it is in the very, very northwestern corner of Illinois called Galena. And it's the home of where General Grant grew up. And interestingly, it is the home of it is I'm trying to remember what the record is. The most US generals have come from this town
Oh
in the
wow.
history of the United States. But it's because they're all Civil War generals.
Oh,
And so, Grant was like, you come with me and you come with me, you come with me. But nonetheless, the beautiful, beautiful little town. It's like walking back into the early 1900s, late 1800s. Beautiful downtown area, just a few miles from the Illinois or from the Mississippi River. It has such a unique history, but the best part is this main street that they have. Every single storefront is full of little mapa type stores, and it was just a delight. And my wife, and I we just had a great time, just sort of having time to go to be by ourselves, to go to dinner and walk around these shops and everything. It was just it is my top moment of this last year.
well, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing those with us because that's what I'm talking about, right? Because that's where the community comes in to these conversations that we have, and we hope that Caleb, Luke, and I, we go out there and we record week after week, and we hope that people enjoy it and that it enriches their experience as they go through life. And you're doing that right now, just sharing those highlights, because you really can't replace what comes from the moments spent and the time spent with those people that you love. And that's just tremendous. And I really appreciate you sharing those. And I fully support you breaking it into 3 parts, even though Corey would be a little bit,
He
so
doesn't like ties.
thank you. Thank you for sharing that, and congratulations on all of those 3 things, because number one, having that great experience with your youngest daughter, and then your oldest daughter's success, and then having that wonderful anniversary just deserves congratulations. So thank you for sharing that with us. That was tremendous. That was amazing. Sorry, Luke, you have to follow that. So good luck.
Yeah, it might be a little underwhelming here, but I'll do my best.
Did you say you're gonna do your best to be underwhelming? Is that what you meant?
No, I said it's going to be underwhelming, but I'll still do my best. Yeah, I had a good year. It was a very busy year for me. I think a highlight for me is getting accepted to California State of Northridge. That's a big thing for me. After dragging my feet through community college for 4 years, I finally maxed out on credits and had no choice but to apply, and got in. So that was nice. I started in, what is it, 3 weeks. So yeah, that's big for me, and I'm excited about that. It when I got accepted, it really kicked me into a different gear and taking what I do a lot more seriously and stuff. So that's probably my highlight for the year.
And deservedly so. I mean, honorable mention to leading your team last year to a championship, which is pretty cool too, because what you're doing with those kids is pretty special. Same thing with you, Caleb, and the work that you do with the goaltenders, which leads to other team success, is pretty amazing. So whether or not hockey's on your list, yeah, you deserves an honorable mention. But yeah, that getting ready to go to State University as a junior. Getting ready to move on to that next level of your life is exciting to watch. Yeah, definitely deserves to be mentioned. Caleb?
I feel like I already talked about it, and I warned you guys that I would continue to take up more wind about it, so I will. Going to Paris, going to Croatia, going to Italy, just that Europe trip. We also went to Montenegro, but that was only for a day, and honestly was the last leg of the trip, and not the best, but the rest was just literally life-changing. And it's hard not to try and like quantify different chapters of your life without calling them chapters. So we'll call this like the final pages of a new chapter going into this new year. A new highlight will be starting a new job professionally. That's really great for me, setting me up. So I'm really excited for that. Um, Socially will be that Europe trip and just seeing everybody continue to grow. I made a joke to our aunts when their babies were born that I would never forgive them for having their children in the year I graduated from college because they would be forever like a calendar to me, a timestamp of where am I at their birth year, or they're 5 years old. What have I done with my life? And it feels good to be able to look back at that and see how far all of us have come, and me personally being able to make these like steps toward progress, and being able to look back at the end of the year a little bit more proud than years before, and so on and so forth. So I'm excited for the next year too.
Yeah, well done. It's a privilege to be able to sit where I sit and watch you guys live your lives. I say it a lot. I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but I'm very proud of you guys. I'm proud of being your dad. I'm proud of what you guys are doing and accomplishing. I'm also proud of what we do here with the Colby Cast. I mean, it's no small thing to sit down and coordinate and talk. And even though it's really, we try our best to just invite people into our lives and share our conversations with people. But you guys make that time to sit here and talk to me, and that means a lot to me. Which really leads to my highlight for 2024. And Tom, it's going to be sort of something similar to you. Corey Club is going to find it very unsatisfactory. But I'm really going to say just like the last 3 to 4 weeks have been pretty tremendous. Like in sections, December. And, I mentioned, having that wonderful playoff run, Luke, our team, and Caleb being involved with the goaltenders. That was wonderful. That was earlier in the year. My wife and I had a wonderful opportunity to go to Disneyland, and just the two of us and spend time. And that was because of the incredible generosity of Dan Zaire, Coffee with Kenobi. Was able to help him out with some things, and then really have a wonderful day with my wife in the happiest place on earth, which was just magical. Really was just magical. Summer's also always awesome because things slow down and we get a chance to go here and there and whatnot. I'm a pretty easy person to satisfy. Just take me to the beach and I'm going to be happy. So I think we went to the beach more this year than any other year previously. But really, this last month, I'm just going to get philosophical and say, like, right now is the highlight. Right now, just sort of right now. I finished school. That was a big deal. So I'm very happy with that. But really, in my opinion, that's just sort of step one is complete in a 2-step process. So I'm sort of halfway to what I'm trying to make my goal, but it was still very satisfying to turn in that last paper and know that that box has been checked. But that really just led into what I'm really talking about. And the last week or week and a half, we really had a wonderful Christmas. Both the boys were around a lot this Christmas, and we had a really, Christmas and the holidays can be quite challenging if you let it be, and being pulled in so many different ways. This Christmas wasn't that. Our job is very challenging in and of itself, and once Christmas comes, that slows down, and we just had a really wonderful Christmas day, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and then the weekend after was really just moments that you can let yourself take those for granted. But I just sort of really keyed in on appreciating those small moments. Nana and Papa were able to come over on Christmas Day, and everybody loves Papa. We had our episode that we recorded with him years ago now. If you haven't listened to that, check it out because it's a highlight. He's just such a joy to have around, and we don't know how many more years. Everybody's parents get to a certain age where you just don't know, how many more you're going to have, and just having that moment there, having mom and papi, right, mom's mom and dad here with us, and everyone together on Christmas was really, I just really took a moment and just soaked it in and appreciated that. And then just the party continues with this incredible conversation the four of us are having, just looking back on 2024. I genuinely have enjoyed every moment of this, so I'm including that in that as well. So just like the last 3 weeks, the whole month of December, it's just something that I'll always remember. So thank you guys for taking this time, spending this time. And if you've made it to this point in the show, thank you for hanging out and listening to us talk about these wonderful things. We hope that you guys are all enjoying that. So, all of you have my thanks. Really, really genuine, heartfelt thanks. Tom, especially, joining the craziness that is the Colby Cast. We appreciate and love seeing your face on that screen with the rest of us too. So, thank you guys. Are there any final thoughts? Anything that we didn't get to touch base on before we call this an episode? Tom?
Well, I'm just going to finish with an analogy here. I hope it works. I'm working it through my head as I'm starting to talk about it. My brother one time taught me, he said, anytime we drive into Chicago or Indianapolis or any city, my brother would say, "Oh, look at all the cranes over there." He said, when you see cranes in a city, he said, those cranes are a sign that that city is growing and that there is progress and growth because they're just building up. And it's a marvelous sight to see, and excited to go back to that city to see what it looks like in a few years, and just to hear the three of you talking of all the like the milestones that all three of you have crossed, and like just the optimism in your futures. It's like all the cranes over at your house that just show like the promise and the growth in your family. And it's just so cool to sit here in my seat and listen to all three of you talk about, going, getting accepted to a college, finding a new job, finishing a major life task that's going to lead to, new avenues and paths. And it's so cool to hear that. And to be a part of that. So thank you for sharing that and letting me be a part of all of that as well. And then I'm just going to finish with one more Corey Club quote, since we've got enough of those out there, right? Is you said, thanks to everybody for who have made it this far. I think Corey would say, thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah. Well, definitely. Thanks.
So, but it has been an absolute joy and pleasure. This has come to be a part of my end of the year tradition, to be with you, Colby, and now Caleb and Luke, to hang out with you guys. So thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this.
Well, we're so happy. I'm selfishly so happy that all of our schedules worked out where we were able to sit down and do this. Not one moment of disappointment. You guys all just came through with flying colors. And I too am sitting here just enjoying watching you guys have the conversation. Caleb and Luke, I think you guys, you said you guys are good. Are the brains empty, or is there anything else you need to lay out there?
No, that's it from me. Thank you. Thanks, Tom, for joining us. Thank you for putting up with us.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because like when we record with our dad, it's just hanging out, to be a part of your guys' tradition of this is now year 3 of it. It sort of felt like we were coming into a conversation where it's like, okay, where do we fall in this? But I think it was awesome, and it was really awesome spending the last 7 hours. I mean, 2 hours with you. It did.
Feels like it flew right by. Flew right by. Yeah, this has been tremendous. Tom, before we let everybody go, please. I wish that I had brought up Steam into Star Wars. I know you've got that coming up very quickly. Actually, within just a few days, I think. So just give everybody that reminder. Steam into Star Wars is coming up, and where people can find you out there on the interwebs, as we like to say.
Yes. So Steam into Star Wars, that's our my book club and my game club put on this large event at our school for one day, January 11th from 9:30 to 2:30. Greg McLaughlin's there, Dan's there, is there, Ross Hollowbin will be there. It's a great time. There's podcasting, there's local authors and artists. Our local game stores are there. Concessions, all sorts of fun activities and prizes to give away. And so Steam into Star Wars, and it's a labor of love. It's our 9th year for the event, so definitely looking forward to that. And yeah, we're under 2 weeks now. Let's see. You can find me on Teachers in the Dungeon. That's our podcast. Dan Ream and I. We started that several years ago. We just passed our 200th episode, and we talk Dungeons and Dragons. We talk RPGs. We talk to and interview creators of the RPG and gaming world. And so, if adventure or gaming is your jam, check us out. We'd love to have you join in with us, that conversation, and share that love of gaming with you.
Thank you so much, sir. I truly appreciate you coming on and having this conversation. And it's been more than 5 minutes since I've referenced Hamilton, so I'm going to end the episode as I like to with a reminder. So for Tom, for Caleb, and for Luke, this is Colby reminding you that in 2025, don't throw away your shot. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know. You can find the Colbycast on Instagram, Threads, and X at the Colbycast. Episodes can also be found on YouTube, so like and subscribe. If you feel so inclined, rate and review our show on your podcatcher of choice. That really helps the show beat the algorithm and helps us find new friends to add to the conversation. If you're wordy, like me, you can send an email to thecolbycast@gmail.com. All music is licensed through Adobe Stock and performed by ProMusic24. This podcast is not endorsed by anyone or anything for that matter. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Colbycast unless otherwise indicated.
That'll do, Donkey. That'll do.